Palermo, Sicily, 1633. In the 17th century, marriage was forever. The only way out was death. But she believed death just needed a helping hand. What if the deadliest weapon in history wasn't a sword or a gun, but a simple bottle of cosmetic liquid? Giulia Tofana. This woman killed more people than the plague in Rome in broad daylight for 20 years. In 17th century Italy, divorce was impossible. If you were trapped in a marriage with an abusive husband, you had two choices: suffer until you died, or visit a specific woman in Rome. Her product, Aqua Tofana, looked like a holy healing oil or a simple face cream. It sat openly on women's dressing tables. Husbands watched their wives apply it, having no idea they were staring at their own death warrant. It was colorless, tasteless, and odorless. But the genius was in the timing. The first drop caused a cold. The second, a fever. The third, vomiting. By the fourth drop, the husband was dead, and because it mimicked natural illness, doctors certified it as death by natural causes. Before she was caught, Giulia Tofana helped widows dispatch over 600 men. She wasn't just a serial killer. She was the most successful hitwoman in history. In the mid-1600s, a woman was not considered a person. She was property. Marriages were business transactions. Once the ring was on her finger, she belonged entirely to her husband. If he beat her, gambled away their money, or was simply cruel, she had no legal recourse. The church forbade divorce, and running away meant social ruin. For many, the home was a prison. In this prison, Giulia Tofana saw a business opportunity. Historians believe Giulia was the daughter of Tofania d'Adamo, a woman executed in Sicily for murdering her own husband. It seems the recipe for poison was a family heirloom, passed from mother to daughter. When her mother was executed, Giulia didn't flee from the world of poison, she refined it. She turned it into an empire. So, what was Aqua Tofana? It was a mixture of arsenic, lead, and belladonna. Individually, these are deadly. Mixed together, they were a silent weapon. But Giulia's brilliance wasn't just chemistry. It was marketing. You couldn't just sell a bottle labeled poison. Instead, Giulia packaged the liquid in elegant glass vials labeled Manna of Street, Nicholas of Bari. This was a popular healing oil sold for blemishes. It looked like a religious object. A pious wife could keep it on her vanity, right next to her perfume, and her husband would never suspect a thing. Giulia instructed her clients specifically, do not use it all at once. This was the slow kill. Because the process took days, the husband had time to repent his sins and receive his last rites. This was crucial to the religious women of Italy. They wanted their husbands dead, but they didn't want them to go to hell. Giulia moved her operations from Sicily to Naples, and eventually to Rome. As she moved, her network grew. This wasn't a lone wolf operation. Giulia Tofana employed a staff, including her daughter and several assistants. They had a supply chain and distributors. For nearly 20 years, they operated in the shadows. It became an open secret among the women of Rome. Young, healthy men were dropping dead, leaving behind wealthy, young widows. But because the poison left no trace detectable by 17th century science, nobody could prove a crime. Giulia Tofana had created the perfect crime until a bowl of soup changed everything. In 1659, a woman bought the poison. She went home and prepared a bowl of soup for her husband, lacing it with the deadly drops. She brought the bowl to the table. Her husband picked up his spoon, but as he raised it to his lips, she screamed, "Don't eat it," and burst into tears. The reality of what she was doing hit her. The husband, confused and suspicious, demanded to know why. He saw the terror in her eyes. He beat her until she confessed. He dragged her to the papal authorities where, under torture, she gave up the name Giulia Tofana. Giulia fled to a church, seeking sanctuary. For a brief moment, it seemed she might escape prosecution due to church protection laws. However, a rumor spread through Rome, likely planted by her enemies, that Giulia had poisoned the city's water supply. The public mood turned instantly. A mob stormed the church, dragged Giulia out, and handed her over to the authorities. During her confession, she admitted to selling enough poison to kill over 600 men between 1633 and 1651. In July 1659, they were executed in Rome's Campo dei Fiori. Her body was thrown over the wall of the church that had tried to protect her. But the story didn't end there. Dozens of her clients, the widows, were rounded up. Some were executed, others were walled up in dungeons for the rest of their lives. The legend of Aqua Tofana became so terrifying that it haunted Europe for a century. Over 100 years later, on his deathbed, the great composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart claimed he was being poisoned. His exact words were, "Someone has given me Aqua Tofana and calculated the precise time of my death." While Mozart likely wasn't poisoned by Tofana, it proves one thing. Giulia Tofana was the ghost that haunted men's nightmares for generations. She was a murderer to some and a dark angel of mercy to others. But undeniably, she was the most lethal cosmetic saleswoman who ever lived. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to support us. Thanks for watching.